Hi guys, it's Nick from Let's Chat, and in this video today I'm going to review my round 10 footy tips, and I'm also going to do my round 11 footy tips. So let's get underway. So first of all, I'm going to review my round 10 footy tips, and I got 5 out of 9 last week. So I picked Demons to beat Port Adelaide, but Port Adelaide won in a really close game, so the game could have went either way. It was a good game. Next game I tipped Sydney. They only just won because of a 50-metre penalty. And they had a shot for goal in the goal square and they won because North Melbourne had an extra interchange and that cost them the game. I tipped Bulldogs against the Crows. I got that one right. I tipped the Cats, and somehow Fremantle have upset the reigning premiers. So Fremantle have won 3 on the trot, and they're getting some mojo back all of a sudden, the Dockers. I tipped the Lions to beat the Gold Coast Suns, and they won comfortably in the end. I tipped Richmond to beat Essendon, but somehow Essendon won their first Dreamtime game since 2014. It was that Sam Durham kicked that winning goal in the goal square to beat the Tigers by a point. Tipped Hawthorn to win by 4 points in a thriller, but they absolutely smashed the Eagles, which was embarrassing for West Coast point of view. I tipped Carlton to beat Collingwood. Well, Collingwood were just too good for us. And I tipped St Kilda to beat GWS, and I got that one right. So I got 5 out of 9. Alright, so now I'm going to do my round 11 tips. And the first game of the weekend will be Sydney versus Carlton at the SCG on the Friday night. Sydney were really lucky to get up against North Melbourne through to a 50-metre penalty free kick because North Melbourne had one too many players on the ground on the interchange. That's why the free kick was given to McLean. And for Carlton, well, they played no near their best against Collingwood because Collingwood are the real deal at the moment, and they've only lost one game for the season, Collingwood. But since it's at the SCG, but Sydney have only won one SCG game for the year, so I'm going to tip Carlton in this one, in a close one. I'm going to tip them to win by 9 points. So the next game is between St Kilda and Hawthorn on the Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda had a gutsy win over GWS at Giant Stadium in Sydney. Max King was the difference, kicking 4 goals in his return game. If he wasn't playing, then they would have lost, I reckon. So that was good for St Kilda. And with Hawthorn, they had a easy, comfortable win over the Eagles by 116 points, which was unexpected because since Hawthorn were a bottom team, with Mitchell Lewis kicking a career-high 6 goals, and he also outscored the Eagles by surprise as well. But I have a feeling this game St Kilda will have a comfortable win, and they should win by 37 points. So the next game is between Melbourne versus Fremantle at the MCG. Melbourne had an unlucky loss against Port Adelaide. At one stage, I thought they had it in the bag. Melbourne, they were looking good, but then Port Adelaide came back and took the lead back in the last 4 minutes or so, and they managed to hold on. Port Adelaide, they've won like 7 in a row, Port Adelaide. And yeah, Melbourne couldn't beat them on the night. And with Fremantle, well, they had an unbelievable win against the reigning premiers in Geelong. They've won 3 on the trot now, especially the last 2 games against the 2 grand final teams who were played last year in Sydney and Geelong. So Fremantle are back after a horror start to the season. They've won 3 on the trot. They're playing at their best again, and yeah. But I reckon, since it's in Melbourne, I still reckon Melbourne are capable of winning, and I'm going to tip them by 47 points. I know it's harsh, but it's just my opinion. So the next tip is between Geelong and GWS at GMHBA Stadium on the Saturday afternoon. Both teams are losers last week. Geelong lost to Fremantle, GWS lost to St Kilda. But I reckon I know Geelong have a few injuries at the moment, but they normally win at their home ground, and I reckon I'm going to tip them. But GWS, they'll put up a good fight like they did last week, but I don't think they'll have enough to beat Geelong. So I'm going to tip Geelong to win by 18 points. So the next game is between Gold Coast versus the Western Bulldogs. Gold Coast, they were in it within 3 quarters in the Q clash against Brisbane, but the Lions ran away with it in the last quarter against them. And the Western Bulldogs, they're continuing their good form. They haven't lost since Gather Round. That was the game that I went to, where they got beaten by Port Adelaide. But yeah, Bulldogs were too good against Adelaide this weekend. They were, and yeah, I just reckon the Bulldogs will have a better chance of winning against the Suns. And I'm tipping them by 28 points this week. So the next game is between West Coast and Essendon. West Coast travelled all the way to Tasmania to play Hawthorn, and they absolutely embarrassed themselves, losing by 116 points, which is not acceptable. I know they've got a lot of injuries and shit like that, but seriously, only kicking 4 goals in the whole entire game. With Essendon, well, they had a famous victory against Richmond last week in the Dreamtime at the G for Indigenous round, and Sam Durham was kicking the match winner in the goal square. That was a great finish to a game. That was a good game to watch. I watched the final 3 minutes of that game, and wow, I'm so glad I did. So this is an easy tip. Essendon will win comfortably. They should win by at least 58 points, I reckon. So now the first Sunday afternoon game is between Richmond and Port Adelaide at the MCG. Richmond are coming off a 1-point loss against Essendon in the Dreamtime game. That was Damien Hardwick's last game as coach. And with Port Adelaide, they had a gutsy win against Melbourne. I knew that was going to be a cracking game because it was 2 top sides in Port Adelaide and Melbourne. So it would have went either way, but Port Adelaide got the chocolates in the end, and they've won 7 games on the trot. Richmond, they're going to try and get a win for Dimmer, but I'm tipping Port Adelaide here to go for an 8th consecutive win here. So I'm going to tip Port Adelaide to win by 13 points in a tight one. So the next game is between Collingwood and North Melbourne. Collingwood, they had another win. This time it was against Carlton. And North Melbourne, well, they should have won on the weekend, but having that extra interchange cost them that goal, and Sydney got the chocolates over them. So this is an easy game. I'm tipping Collingwood to win by 89 points. So now the last match of the weekend is between Adelaide and Brisbane at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide had a horrible loss against the Western Bulldogs. They didn't show up. The Lions continue their good form, winning another game, this time against the Gold Coast Suns in the Q clash. Joe Daniher and Charlie Cameron both being in good form at late, but Brisbane are in better form. They should win. I'm going to tip them to win by 68 points. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you guys.